There's one kind of woman that every man respects, even the most confident, stubborn, and emotionally unavailable ones. She doesn't need to speak loudly, dress provocatively, or fight to be heard. Her presence alone is enough to make any man stand straighter, speak differently, and think twice before crossing her boundaries. Men feel something around her, something they can't fully explain. It's not fear, and it's not attraction alone. It's respect. A deep, instinctive respect that doesn't come from beauty, charm, or even intelligence. It comes from energy, a calm, unshakable kind of energy that says, I know who I am, and I won't trade my peace to prove it to anyone. Most women have been told that to be loved they must give, please, and compromise. That the secret to keeping a man is to make him happy first, even when it means losing yourself. But that kind of mindset only leads to exhaustion, resentment, and a silent loss of power. Because here's the truth. The more you try to earn a man's respect, the less he gives it to you. Men don't respect women who chase. They respect women who choose. Women who know when to show up and when to leave. Women who don't need to be the loudest in the room because their silence already says everything. And I know what you might be thinking, but I've tried being kind, patient, understanding, and it never works. The problem isn't your kindness. The problem is when kindness turns into self-abandonment. When your compassion becomes permission for someone to treat you carelessly. The only type of woman every man respects is the one who values herself more than she values his attention. She doesn't beg, she doesn't explain, and she doesn't wait for anyone to realize her worth. She shows her worth by how she lives, by what she accepts and what she walks away from. She's not cold, she's not rude. She simply knows that love without respect is just manipulation in disguise. And that's where most women get stuck, confusing being nice with being respected. Because here's something few people talk about. Men don't respect what they can easily predict. When you always say yes, when you always forgive, when you always make excuses for his behavior, he doesn't see strength, he sees permission. And once a man feels permission to disrespect you, it never ends there. The woman who earns respect doesn't do it by shouting or demanding. She does it through discipline, emotional discipline. She doesn't argue to prove she's right. She knows that walking away in silence says far more than 1,000 explanations ever could. Every man deep down admires the woman who holds herself to a higher standard. He may test her, push her, even try to confuse her. But when she stands firm, he recognizes something rare. Because what most men won't tell you is this: respect is the foundation of attraction. Without it, desire fades, love weakens, and everything turns into a power struggle. That's why so many women give everything and still feel invisible, because they're giving from a place of fear, not strength. They're afraid of losing someone, when in reality, the only thing they should fear is losing themselves. This video isn't about how to play games or pretend to be someone you're not. It's about understanding the psychology of respect. What makes a man see you not as an option, but as a standard. When you embody this mindset, everything changes. Men treat you differently. Conversations feel lighter. You stop chasing closure or explanations. Because here's the truth. The woman every man respects doesn't need to say she has boundaries. Her presence already sets them. She doesn't need to prove she's valuable. Her peace, her calm, and her distance prove it for her. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this kind of woman stands apart from the rest, why she gets treated differently, why she's never forgotten, and most importantly, how you can become that woman starting today. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear will completely change the way you see men and yourself. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Laura. She wasn't loud, she wasn't overly confident, and she definitely wasn't the kind of woman who demanded attention everywhere she went. In fact, she used to be the opposite: gentle, accommodating, the kind of woman who always put everyone else before herself. She believed that being patient, understanding, and forgiving would make people love her more, especially the man she loved, Daniel. From the outside, they looked perfect. They laughed together, traveled, took photos that made everyone think they were the ideal couple. But behind those smiles, Laura was slowly disappearing. Daniel had a strong personality. He liked to be in control. He wasn't cruel, but he had a way of making her feel small, through subtle comments, quiet dismissals, and those moments when she needed reassurance but got silence instead. At first, she told herself it was just stress, or that he needed time. But over time, she realized that every time she tried to explain her feelings, he pulled away even more. She began to question herself. Maybe she was asking too much. Maybe love meant staying quiet, being patient, giving space. So she did. She waited, tolerated, forgave. She thought that by doing everything right, he'd finally appreciate her. But the more she gave, the less he valued her. Until one night, something inside her broke. They were out with friends and Daniel made a joke. One of those jokes that humiliate you in front of everyone disguised as playful. Everyone laughed, except her, and for the first time she didn't smile it off. She didn't defend him. She just looked at him in silence, not with anger, but with a kind of calm that made even him uncomfortable. That night, she went home early, alone. She didn't cry. She didn't text him. She didn't even argue. She just sat on her bed and stared at her reflection. And it hit her. She wasn't respected because she had stopped respecting herself first. She realized that all the time she said, "It's okay," when it wasn't. All the time she accepted less than she deserved. She was teaching him how to treat her. She thought love was about understanding someone else, but she forgot to understand herself. The next day, when Daniel called, she didn't answer. When he showed up confused asking what was wrong, she didn't yell or explain. She just said, "I'm done trying to convince you to treat me right." And that was it. At first he laughed. He thought she was bluffing, but when he realized she meant it, something changed in his eyes. For the first time in years, he looked at her differently. Not as the woman who'd always forgive, but as someone who finally drew a line he couldn't cross. Weeks passed. He called, he texted, he tried to make her feel guilty. But Laura didn't go back. She wasn't angry. She was free. And in that freedom, she found her voice again. That's when she learned something powerful. When you stop chasing respect and start living like you deserve it, the world around you adjusts. People who once took you for granted either rise to meet your standards or fall away completely. Months later, Daniel saw her at a cafe. She wasn't trying to look impressive. She was laughing, talking, and glowing in a way he'd never seen before. And in that moment, he realized what he'd lost. Not just her presence, but the version of her that once needed him. He tried to reconnect, but she was already gone. Not just from his life, but from the cycle of pleasing, explaining, and hoping. She had finally understood the truth that so many women miss. Respect doesn't come from waiting for someone to see your worth. It comes from showing them what happens when they don't. And the irony? The moment she stopped caring whether he respected her was the exact moment he finally did. Because that's the paradox of male psychology. Men don't respect what's easy. They respect what's rare. And a woman who respects herself, truly deeply, is one of the rarest things in the world today. Laura's story isn't unique. It's the story of millions of women who've been told to love endlessly but never taught to stop when love becomes one-sided. It's the story of women who think patience will make a man change, when in truth, it only teaches him that you'll stay no matter how he behaves. And maybe you've been there too, waiting for someone to see you, to treat you differently, to finally give you the respect you give so freely. But the moment you stop waiting, the moment you step into your own strength, you become unforgettable. Because here's the truth, every man has a turning point. A moment when he realizes he's lost a woman he'll never find again. And it's never because she yelled or begged or fought harder. It's because she walked away in silence, carrying the kind of self-worth that no man can ever replace. Every man, no matter how confident he seems, carries an internal code. A set of unspoken rules about what he respects and what he doesn't. Most of those rules aren't taught. They're instinctive. They come from how he was raised, what he observed about strength, and what triggers his sense of challenge or admiration. And here's the reality. Men don't respect what they can control. When a woman bends her boundaries for him, always forgives, always explains, he might like the comfort, but he loses respect. Not because he's cruel, but because his psychology equates effort with value. When something or someone requires no effort to keep, his mind subconsciously lowers its importance. It's primitive, but it's real. That's why men chase what feels earned, not what's simply available. It's not about playing games. It's about energy dynamics. When a woman values herself deeply, she becomes selective. Her time, her peace, and her emotions aren't easily accessed. That scarcity activates something ancient in the male brain, a need to prove, to protect, to pursue. But here's where most women misunderstand the process. They think respect comes from being perfect, from always saying the right thing, always being calm, always looking put together. In truth, men don't respect perfection. They respect authentic power, a woman who can be gentle without being weak, who can love without losing herself, who can say no without guilt. That's what commands admiration. You see, men test boundaries even without realizing it. They'll make a sarcastic comment, show up late, ignore a message, not always out of malice, but to see where the line is. It's a subconscious search for structure. And when there's no line, when everything is forgiven and justified, he starts to lose emotional polarity. But the woman who holds her line calmly, who doesn't beg, doesn't threaten, doesn't crumble, becomes unforgettable. She doesn't use silence to punish. She uses it to protect her peace. And that silence, that composure, shakes a man more than any argument ever could. In the psychology of respect, power and peace are connected. The calmer you are in the face of chaos, the more powerful you appear. Men are drawn to women who don't need validation to feel valuable, because it signals something profound: emotional independence. Men crave emotional safety just as women do, but they rarely admit it. They admire the woman who doesn't make her happiness depend on them. It's not about indifference, it's about balance. When a man senses that a woman's mood doesn't shift with his every action, he sees her as stable, grounded, and therefore trustworthy. And trust, for a man, is deeply tied to respect. A man respects the woman he can't manipulate, the one who doesn't fall for sweet words after he's crossed a boundary, the one who doesn't use love as an excuse to tolerate confusion. When she says, "I care about you, but I care about myself more," it resets the dynamic completely. Because while attraction may start with appearance, respect begins with behavior. A man may be drawn to beauty, but he stays for integrity, for consistency, for standards that challenge him to be better. The kind of woman who quietly demands growth simply by refusing to accept less. And here's something powerful. Men know when they're with a woman who won't tolerate being disrespected. They feel it in her tone, in her body language, in the way she reacts to disappointment. She doesn't need to threaten to leave. Her presence already tells him that staying in her life is a privilege, not a guarantee. That's why the woman every man respects never competes, never chases, never begs. Her strength isn't loud, it's felt. She knows that love built on fear of losing someone isn't love, it's dependency. And dependency kills respect faster than anything. If you've ever wondered why some women seem to command respect effortlessly, while others struggle no matter how much they give, this is the difference. The first kind lives from self-worth, the second, from self-doubt. Men can feel the difference instantly. Self-worth says, "I'd like you in my life, but I don't need you to define it." Self-doubt says, "I'll do whatever it takes to keep you from leaving." One creates respect, the other creates imbalance. There's another aspect most people overlook: emotional control. A woman who knows how to manage her reactions becomes incredibly powerful. Not because she suppresses emotion, but because she understands timing. She knows that not every word deserves a response. Not every provocation deserves attention. She protects her peace like it's gold. And that discipline is magnetic. Men subconsciously associate emotional stability with strength. It makes them feel safe. It makes them respect your mind. Because while a man might be physically stronger, he deeply admires emotional mastery. It's the one kind of strength he can't fake. That's why men remember women who didn't lose control. They might forget the ones who argued, who pleaded, who tried to fix everything, but they'll never forget the one who stayed calm, firm, and mysterious. The one who didn't make noise when she left. And here's the truth. When a man respects you, everything about how he treats you changes. He listens more carefully. He watches his tone. He considers your opinion. He feels a quiet accountability, because deep down, he knows that disrespect means losing something irreplaceable. But that respect doesn't come from trying to control him. It comes from controlling yourself, from showing through your actions that you value peace over attention, truth over comfort, and self-respect over temporary affection. When a man meets a woman like that, he either rises to her level or fades from her life. And both outcomes are victories, because the kind of respect she commands isn't situational, it's permanent. It doesn't depend on who she's with, what she wears, or what she says. It's who she is, and that's what separates her from the rest. She's not loved because she's easy to love. She's loved because she's hard to forget. There's a painful truth that most women don't realize until it's too late. When a man doesn't respect you, everything else slowly collapses. The love fades, the passion weakens, the conversations become colder, and the connection that once felt deep turns into confusion. Without respect, Even the most beautiful relationship becomes a cycle of apologies and disappointment. At first, it doesn't look that serious. He starts taking longer to reply, canceling plans at the last minute, or making small jokes that sting a little. You tell yourself it's normal, that he's just stressed or distracted. But those small signs are warnings, early cracks that show he stopped seeing you the same way. When a man stops respecting you, he doesn't always leave. Sometimes he stays, but in a way that hurts even more. He stays physically, but emotionally he's gone. He becomes distant, careless, unkind. You start doing more, giving more, trying harder, just to keep the connection alive. But every time you give more, he values it less. You begin to shrink without even noticing. You stop expressing what bothers you because you don't want to start an argument. You forgive things that once would have been unacceptable. You lower your standards piece by piece, hoping that one day he'll notice how loyal, patient, and understanding you are. But here's the tragedy. He notices. He just doesn't respect it. Because to him, your willingness to tolerate bad behavior doesn't look like love. It looks like weakness. And weakness never earns respect. Men might say they want a woman who gives everything, who never complains, who always supports them. But in reality, they respect the woman who demands balance. The one who says, "I'll give my all, but only if you do too." Because that kind of woman reminds him that love is a partnership, not a place where one person does all the work while the other gets comfortable. When you keep giving without limits, you train him to take you for granted. And soon you start to feel invisible, not because you're not enough, but because you've become too available, too predictable, too forgiving. That's when disrespect becomes normal. He stops trying. He stops calling. He stops showing up emotionally. You start feeling anxious, walking on eggshells, wondering what version of him you'll get today, the warm one or the cold one. And when you ask what's wrong, he says, "You're overreacting." Those words are a red flag. They mean he no longer takes your emotions seriously. And the longer you stay in that dynamic, the more you lose yourself. You start doubting your worth, thinking maybe you expect too much. But you don't. You're just expecting the bare minimum from someone who stopped trying. Here's the danger. Once a man learns that you'll accept disrespect, it becomes the new baseline. He might not even realize he's doing it, because you've shown him, through silence, through tolerance, that it's okay. Every time you stay after being disrespected, you send a silent message that says, "You can treat me like this, and I'll still be here." And men understand actions far louder than words. They may not analyze emotions the way you do, but they know when someone respects herself, and when she doesn't. If you don't draw the line, he never will. Because it's not his job to protect your self-worth. It's yours. That's why this message is urgent. Because the longer you wait to reclaim your respect, the harder it becomes. Not because you can't, but because every time you choose someone over yourself, a part of your confidence disappears. And that loss doesn't just affect your relationship, it spills into every area of your life. You start doubting your intuition, questioning your decisions, apologizing for things that aren't your fault. You lose your spark, that glow that comes from knowing who you are. But here's the turning point. The moment you decide that being alone with peace is better than being with someone who drains you, everything starts to change. That moment isn't weakness, it's power. It's the beginning of self-respect. Because the kind of woman every man respects isn't born from comfort. She's born from pain, from the moment she finally says, "Enough." She rebuilds herself piece by piece, and that transformation makes her unstoppable. When she stops trying to be understood and starts acting like the woman she was meant to be, she doesn't just regain respect, she becomes magnetic. Because men sense strength. They may test it, they may challenge it, but they always respect it. And for those who don't, they quietly disappear. Because the kind of woman who stands firm in her worth leaves no room for those who thrive on weakness. So if you're in that place right now, waiting for him to change, hoping that one more chance will make him see your value, understand this: the longer you wait for his respect, the further you drift from your own. Respect doesn't start with how he treats you. It starts with what you tolerate. And the moment you choose peace over confusion, distance over disrespect, and dignity over desperation, that's the moment you become the woman no man ever forgets. At some point, every woman reaches a crossroads. The moment when she finally understands that her worth can't depend on how someone else sees her. That moment is powerful, because once you stop trying to be understood and start standing firm in your truth, something shifts inside you. You stop needing to prove anything. You stop explaining why you deserve better. You simply live in a way that shows it. And that's what separates the woman who's respected from the one who's tolerated. Men can feel it. They can't always describe it, but they feel it the moment you walk into a room. That quiet confidence, that peace, that certainty that you don't need anyone's approval to feel valuable. You see, there's a specific energy that comes from self-respect. It's not arrogance. It's not coldness, it's calm, it's presence. It's the kind of energy that makes people, not just men, treat you differently. They sense that you have boundaries, that you won't beg for validation, and that you're not afraid to walk away when something stops aligning with your peace. And that's the energy of freedom. Freedom from trying to earn love. Freedom from overthinking what someone else wants. Freedom from feeling like you have to be perfect just to be enough. You become the kind of woman who isn't defined by how much she gives, but by how much she honors herself. You understand that walking away doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. That saying no doesn't mean you've changed. It means you've finally grown. Because the truth is, men don't forget women like that. They remember the one who didn't chase, who didn't beg, who didn't fall apart trying to keep someone who wasn't ready. They remember the silence, the peace, the power. They remember the way you carried yourself when they expected you to break in and you didn't. That moment stays with them. It humbles them. It teaches them that real strength doesn't shout. It stands tall, quietly. And you know what's even more beautiful? When you reach that point, respect no longer becomes something you seek. It becomes something you attract. Because you've become aligned with it. It lives in how you speak, how you respond, how you carry yourself. You don't have to teach people how to treat you. You just have to show them what you no longer allow. And yes, that means you'll lose some people along the way. But what you'll gain is far greater. Peace, clarity, and the ability to look in the mirror and finally recognize the woman you were always meant to be. The kind of woman who doesn't chase closure, who doesn't fear silence, who doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. The kind of woman who can be soft without being naive, who can be kind without being used. That woman, the one who balances compassion with strength, is the one every man respects. Not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. And here's what no one tells you. Respect and love are deeply connected. Without respect, love feels unstable. But when a man truly respects you, love becomes peaceful, consistent, safe. It doesn't drain you, it grounds you. That's why becoming this kind of woman is not just about relationships, it's about life. The moment you start living with self-respect, everything aligns differently. You attract better people, better conversations, better energy. You stop chasing and start choosing. Because the woman who respects herself never loses anything real. She might lose attention, yes, she might lose people who were never meant to stay, but she never loses peace. And peace is the most expensive thing you'll ever own. So if you're listening to this and you feel tired of giving, tired of waiting, tired of explaining, take this as your sign. You don't need to fight harder. You don't need to prove your worth. You just need to remember who you are before the world made you forget. You are not hard to love. You're just hard to manipulate. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not distant. You're selective. And that's exactly what makes you powerful. The woman every man respects isn't the loudest, the prettiest, or the most popular. She's the one who walks in peace, speaks with intention, and refuses to lose herself for anyone. She knows that real love starts with her, with the way she talks to herself, protects her boundaries, and honors her emotions. Because when you treat yourself like someone worthy of respect, the world has no choice but to follow. So remember this, the only type of woman every man respects is the one who respects herself first.